Hello, everyone. Welcome to Relatively Sane. I'm Jessica Kirson. I don't have to say that every time that I'm Jessica Kirson, because who else would it be? Like Betty White? I mean, yeah, of course it's me. How have you guys been? Are you having a good week? I'm being sarcastic. Everything is horrible right now, but I guess we just need to be grateful for what we have, you know? I really do that every night. I know I've said this on the podcast before, but to fall asleep, I say what I'm grateful for from A to Z. And I never make it past like J. It's crazy. It really works. I know you think I'm kidding right now, but it really works. But I say the same things a lot. Like I'll be like, I'm grateful for A, apples, B, books. Like it's so boring, and there's so many other things that are deep that I probably should say, but whatever, I'm trying. I just want to say really quick before the podcast starts that I can't stand people who have no manners. I mean, I parked my car yesterday to go into the market, and this guy is walking in front of me, and he turns around to his side and he pushes in one nostril and blows out the other. And I swear to God, like a squid came out of his nose. I know that's disgusting, but I freaked out. I said, excuse me. And he looked at me and I go, that was disgusting. And he just kept walking. And then I realized he had a cane. And I was like, oh boy, you know what? He's an old man. He has a cane. But still, like, don't do that. Carry around a fucking tissue. I don't know. People are just unbelievable. Like they just leave garbage everywhere and, you know, put their bare feet up. I just wasn't brought up like that. I mean, I was brought up with a lot of shit. But one thing my parents taught me was to be, you know, to have manners and to respect other people's space. So if you're doing stuff like that, really, please stop. I highly doubt that anyone that listens to this podcast is walking around with bare feet and putting them on chairs and throwing garbage on the ground and blowing snot out of one nostril. But if you are, please just die. No, I'm joking. Don't die. I don't know. I'm trying to be more patient, but it's not working. I think today I'm going to go get a foot rub. The thing is if they're not strong with it, it's like, what's the point? I mean, I could just have a cat walk around like with its fur on my feet and purr. I don't know. Is it weird if the woman's massaging me and I just keep screaming harder in the foot massage place? Harder, harder. Is that inappropriate? I know I'm all over the place today, but you know what? So are most of you. It's all going to be okay. I love you guys so much. Thank you for following me, for listening to my podcast. I have some big news coming out soon. Thank you for your support. I hope you have a beautiful day. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Relatively Sane. I'm here with one of the funniest people I've ever met. He's going to be surprised that I'm saying that, even though I've always told him he's funny. But I have been a fan of his comedy since when I first started. I'm here with Gregg Rogell.
Hey,
Hi,
Jeff.
Greg.
Hey, Jess. Nice to be here. This
So
is
good to be here with you.
this is my morning at 2 in the afternoon. Since this whole pandemic, I've been sleeping till like 3.
So you sleep until 3 and then do you nap?
No, I'm up till 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I'm still on comics hours, basically. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I
I
get
mean, that's most comics hours. It's okay. So you get up, you go to sleep at 5:30 in the morning and then you get up at 3.
yeah, 2:30, 3 o'clock. Yeah,
So how many hours of sleep is that?
I'm getting it's like 8, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 6. It's fine. It's totally fine.
We can't even do math right now.
I know. I think you should sleep until like 6 and just get a full 12 hours.
The first couple of weeks, I was sleeping till like 6 o'clock. I just could not get out of bed. It was just so goddamn depressing.
I know, Greg. All right, let's start from the beginning. Where did you grow up? Because I can't remember.
Well, I was born in Oceanside, and then like 8. My parents got divorced when I was like 7, and then moved to Roosevelt Island. That was like back in like '77, and back then Roosevelt Island was basically just it was like a giant psychiatric ward.
Oh my God.
It was horrible, and also it's a hospital for quadriplegics, and then there was like 15 kids that lived there.
Oh my God.
Horrible. The schooling was terrible. From there, my mother ended up getting remarried, and we moved to Baldwin. But that 1 year that I was in Roosevelt Island, I basically missed a year of schooling. I went from being like a B student to getting all Fs and Ds for the next 2 years just to catch up to real fucking kids. Yeah.
Oh my God. Wait a second. Why were there so many pelagics and crazy people? I mean, I'm crazy too. I'm not judging.
That's what it was back then. It wasn't. It was underdeveloped. There were only like 4 apartment complexes back then.
Oh.
There was like one little Italian takeout restaurant. There was nothing. There was and the tram, and there was no subway back then to get to the island. You can there was a bridge from Queens, or you take the tram to get into Manhattan. And I did when I was 10 when I was living there, and I would or 9. And I would just go wander around Manhattan by myself. It was like 50 cents for the tram. And I used to go to the Blarney Stone. It was an Irish pub, and the bartender, they all knew me. Like, hey, Greg! I was like little Norm, and I'd go and I'd sit at the bar, and they'd give me free food. And the odds of me becoming a comic were pretty high back then.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the odds of you being funny, this is why you're so funny, because look what you've come from. But let's start in the beginning. How many siblings do you have?
I have a sister. She's out in LA.
Is she older or younger?
She's older by like a year.
And what did your parents do growing up? Like, what did they do when you were a kid?
My father, he worked at a corrugated box plant,
That's
and
exciting.
my mother did nothing. They hated each other. Hated each other.
So did mine.
Yeah, I mean, it was an ugly breakup. As far as a kid, all I knew was my father was an asshole from my mother, and my mother was an idiot from my father. So that's I was raised by an idiot and an asshole.
Well, that's promising.
Yeah. No, my childhood sucked. I was abused early on when I was a kid. I had, I didn't grow up in a religious, I'm Jewish, but
Right.
I wasn't bar mitzvahed. I didn't go to Hebrew. When I was 10 years old, we got tossed out of Hebrew school because I made swastika maracas. We had them, yeah,
You
we had
kill
them
me.
with paper plates and glue and glitter on a stick.
Glitter. You made
Yeah,
swastika.
we make maracas with paper plates. You glue them together and you put beans on the inside and you shake them. That little children. Yeah, and mine. My sister convinced me that the swastikas would be fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we ended up getting. Well, they gave us a choice. We could have stayed, but my mother's like, "Do you really want to go to Hebrew school?" She didn't want us to pay for fucking Hebrew school. So I was like, "No, I guess I don't." So I never. So I kind of got robbed of my heritage. You know what I mean?
Where did your parents meet?
Huh? Where did they meet?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know, and I don't care. To be honest with you, I have no idea how they met, what their history was. It was, I was very young when they split up. It wasn't. It was just, just ugliness.
Well, you threw in there I was abused. Now, I went through a lot of abuse and trauma too in my life, but I know you've spoken about this. I mean, have you spoken about it openly, like stuff that you've gone through?
I never spoke about it until a few years ago. I got vertigo really bad, and it lasted almost a month. And it was a fucking nightmare. I mean, I couldn't work. I couldn't really go anywhere. I was just dizzy all day, and I sunk into a real depression. And I thought by just talking about this, maybe it'll help. You know what I mean? So I just went on Facebook and unloaded.
Oh, that's right. I remember this completely. That's why I said I remember you talking about it.
I thought it would help me. It didn't.
Did it make you feel worse?
It did. What ended up happening, Russell Peters, I love Russell to death. Russell Peters flew me out to LA. He was actually in Texas doing a gig because I went to a hospital and they couldn't help me. Nobody could help me. And I went to LA. I stayed at his place for a couple of weeks. I took care of his dog. And I went to this Indian woman. She practiced. Someone else had recommended her to me. She practiced Eastern medicine. So I did meditation and acupuncture And she got the spinning to stop after a few days.
I'm telling you, Greg, I've just, I recently dealt with trauma stuff, like the energy work when you can do that and shift it.
Yes.
I did a lot of eye movement stuff and it works. Like
Oh,
if
absolutely. I've been meditating now regularly for like 12 years. I do it every day religiously.
you
And
do it
it's
in the
made,
morning when you get up in the morning.
yes, I do it in the, and I used to in the morning. I used to check the news in the morning. I don't do that anymore. No, yeah, I meditate in the morning. Um, Meditation really helps me. During this pandemic, it wasn't enough. About 3 weeks into the lockdown back in March, Adam Glenn, he worked for TMZ,
Yes.
really nice
Oh,
guy.
you're friendly with him. Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he started working for Tony Robbins, and I don't listen to motivational speakers. I never really bought into it, but he gifted me with a digital program from Tony Robbins, and I figured, you know what, I'm fucking miserable. Why don't I just fill my days with Tony Robbins' positive energy? And I did. I would get up first thing in the morning and listen to and work out to his hour of power, and then do one of his classes, and I really applied myself, even though I didn't really buy into it.
Yeah.
I figured, what the fuck? I got nothing else to do, and I'm miserable. And it actually really helped me a lot. It improved. It gave me a real good writing discipline, and it helped my meditation. Because meditation's about becoming aware of what's going on inside of what state you're in. So and after years, it's a gradual cultivation of awareness. And it took me almost a decade to really feel the benefits of it. But so what Tony Robbins is trying to do is he's trying to put you into a state. So when you're already kind of aware of where you are emotionally, it's easier to get into state.
Right.
So they really complemented each other. So for me, it actually worked out really well. And it was a 30-day. I did his 30-day program. I still work out to his little motivational shit in the morning, and it's sappy. You know what I mean? And
That's okay. Doesn't matter if it works. Who cares?
yeah, if you apply yourself, and it'll help you. You know what I mean?
You look amazing. Like you look younger. You look really good.
Yeah, people keep telling me that. I've been cutting my own hair. You can't really tell. It's fucking horrible.
I know. I think you did a really good job. Maybe you should cut my hair so that I look 5 or 10 years younger. You
It's
look
the,
young.
it's the camera. People tell me that I've been looking, but I also, I do meditational. I used to run, but then I tore my ligaments in my ankle, and I haven't run in like 2 years. But since then, before the pandemic, I was walking 8 miles a day.
Wow.
Meditative walks, where I'm trying to stay present for the duration of the walk. Which, if you ever try to be present, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
But it took me years. But I can actually now. I can get into a state of presence and kind of hold it for 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Wow. Good.
And it's helped me. I think it's better than any. It's helped me more than any therapy has ever helped me. Therapy is great. I did it for 2 years, but meditation really works better for me.
Yeah, because you're like me where you've had a history of anxiety, depression. Like, is it more anxiety or more depression or both?
Well, I had a drinking problem for
Mhm.
many years. I was a heavy drinker, and then I quit it was like 12 years ago. I stopped on a dime and just started and replaced it with exercise. And I went 2 years. I felt great, And then when I injured my neck and I couldn't work out, and I ran, that option was now gone. I
Yeah.
immediately fell into a depression, and I didn't even know. I never knew I even suffered from depression because I was drunk most of the time.
Yeah.
So then I went to a doctor, and they put me on antidepressants, and I had an adverse reaction to the
Oh,
antidepressants, and then I had to get locked up in a fucking psych ward for 72 hours to get weaned off of the antidepressant.
oh my God, that's horrible.
That was a nightmare.
Like,
And
what was that like? That must have been so scary.
Oh, there was a circus going on in my fucking head. There was a cockroach living in my eyelids. That's how fucked up it was. I could see him walking from eye to eye, and and It would face me and do this with his little hands. It was a fucking nightmare. It was a
story. That's what I'm not. I mean, I feel horrible, but I've heard these stories. My friend had a horrible reaction to a medication. I think Wellbutrin, something, and she saw She saw men in trees. Like she drove up to her house and she saw all these things, and she couldn't get them away from her house. It was horrible.
It was like an acid trip.
Yeah.
I came into the cellar because I was going to work. And I got there and I'm like, I can't. I just started breaking down at the Comedy Cellar. And Colin was there. Colin took me back to his place. He's like, you're going to stay at my place tonight. You're going to sleep here.
Yeah.
And the next day he took me to the hospital and they gave me an anti-anxiety shot and it made me feel better. So I'm like, yeah, I feel great. So I went home. I didn't realize it was going to 24 hours. The shot was going to wear off.
Oh no.
Shot wore off and now I'm alone. So I raced back to the hospital by myself without Colin's star power. And they said, are you having suicidal thoughts? And I'm like, yeah, because I was seeing a cockroach. I'm like, I may kill myself to stop this.
Yes.
So they go, wait right here. And then fucking two cops came and they fucking dragged me off into the psych ward against my will. And yeah, and then I was there 72 hours, and then I had to meet with all the therapists and convince them that I was under the influence of this fucking drug. They used Prozac to wean me off it, and then after the 72 hours, I felt sane. Mm-hmm. I was still depressed, but after I met with these guys, they said, yeah, we can do this. I went back to work. I went home and I started going back to work again. And I just dealt with the depression for like a month. Another one of our celebrity friends, I don't mention him, he recommended his therapist.
Mm-hmm.
You see, my issues was depression, anxiety, and anger. I've always had tremendous anger.
Yeah, me too.
And the reason the therapy didn't help me was because I had to keep commuting into Manhattan during rush hour to go to the therapist. So I would be livid when I get there, and then anything that we worked out in therapy, I relive it again on the way back.
Greg, that is it's not funny, but it is. I so understand what you're talking about. It's like, it's enraging. And then you go to therapy, it's probably like, you're like, the fucking traffic, just you keep talking about that.
Yes, yeah. Therapy only got me so far. Like, eventually I had another an issue with anxiety, lasted some more weeks. And then he wanted to put me on Klonopin. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't familiar with Klonopin. A couple of our friends have taken the anti-anxiety meds. So I started taking it, and then I researched it, and it says it's very addictive.
Very addictive.
Yeah, so after 2 weeks, I started to wean myself off of it. Every day I would cut it in half. Mm-hmm. And I didn't tell a therapist because he thought I was still on it. And then when I was completely off of it, I came into the office and he asked me how I'm feeling. And I'm like, I stopped taking it. And he's like, no, you have to stay on it for 6 months. And that's when I fired. I said, yeah, I'm not doing this. Because everybody I know that goes to a therapist, most of them are on medication. And I think they're just overprescribing medication to people. And this was.
I mean, I was overprescribed. I mean, I take one medication, but I was on another one and recently went off it like 3 months ago. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so much less anxious. I was so anxious on that medication.
That's what was happening with Klonopin. I was getting depressed from it.
Yeah.
I was taking it at night before I go to sleep. And then I'd wake up miserable. And then at like midnight, I would start to feel a little bit better, and then I take the pill again. And then after a couple of weeks, a couple of days, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, there's a pattern here.
Yeah.
So let me just stop taking it. And the depression kind of went away. And then firing the therapist made me feel better.
Yeah.
What was initially causing my depression was this neck pain that I was getting. I had injured my neck, and for 2 years, I couldn't sit up in bed. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and just severe fucking pain and just have to stand. I couldn't lie.
I've had that. Horrible. I have pain in my neck.
I went to the doctors. They wanted to put me on barbiturates. The other one wanted to put me on opiates, and I'm like, no.
You're an addict.
I'm not doing this.
Yeah, I know.
And then I went to chiropractors, and then I had to keep going back and get adjustments every fucking week. And then John Joseph said, have you ever read Healing Back Pain by John Sarno? Mm-hmm. He goes, it'll heal you back. I'm like, yeah, whatever. but I had nothing to lose, So I read this book, and it fucking worked, and I completely healed my back, my neck, and it's been a decade. And it's all about you've heard of the book, right?
Yes. Oh my God. My mom always talks about that book.
That really kind of clued me into the whole mind body connection, and that's when I started meditating, because I also been suffering from migraines since I was a child, since I was abused back. I remember earliest migraines was like 7 or 8 years old, and for years I've been trying to use meditation to stop the migraines, and now I'm doing great. Like I used to get headaches on a weekly basis, just headaches, but now I don't get headaches anymore. And when I do get migraines, I can separate myself from the migraine. It'll still be there, but there's with meditation, you can kind of separate yourself from all the shit that's going around. It's hard to explain. And I learned from one of these meditation books. If you get into a bathtub, a hot bath, and turn the lights out, so it's complete darkness, and just for 20 minutes meditate in a hot tub, that'll get rid of my migraine 85% of the time.
That's amazing.
So meditation has been great, and I no longer have neck pain, back pain, any of that stuff.
That's so good. I mean, it really is. This is the thing. You know what I want to just point out just about the abuse stuff? It's very upsetting to me that so many boys are abused and nobody talks about it. And you're not supposed to talk about it. But they say that 1 in 6 men and 1 in 4 women has been abused.
I was tortured. I wasn't. This was a one-time thing that I had blacked out. I was drugged up, so I couldn't move. I was going in and out of consciousness, and I was sexually abused and tortured, and I blacked it out for years. I knew something bad had happened to me, but I didn't know what it was, and that's when these headaches had started. And that's when I started drinking. I started drinking when I was 10.
Amazing. But you didn't tell your parents. You blacked out. You didn't even realize.
My parents were useless. Yeah, they're absolutely useless. My father was in Florida. He wasn't even around. But my mother was absolutely useless, and she was the one who kind of put me in this position. This never would have happened if it wasn't for my mother. Right. I don't blame her at this point. But I did for a long time. And by 12, I was drinking pretty much every day, and that continued until like 38 years old.
Yeah, it's so common, and that's why I applaud you so much. I'm not saying, I'm really being serious. It's great that you are able to talk about it, because I'm telling you, whether people are saying it or not, there's a lot of guys who saw your posts who are like, oh, thank God someone spoke up, or this makes me feel less alone, because it is very common.
A lot of people message me privately, thank me, but I feel weird about it. Like I wasn't doing it to help people. I was doing it to stop spinning. I couldn't stop the vertigo. So if it helps people, I'm glad I did it.
It does help people. It'll help people listening to this. It does help people when you share about yourself. It's why I do a lot. I don't want to sometimes talk about things or share about things, but I do, because then people email me and send me messages and say, thank you. I don't feel like, weird, or I don't feel alone, and it's not just me. It's a good feeling to know I can do something and instead of just always just making people laugh.
Yeah, well, the abuse has affected me in so many ways.
In what ways? Like what are the? I know for me, but what do you think are the ways that it?
Well, it's given me physical pain for years. The headache and the neck pain and all that. It certainly caused my drinking. It's given me self-esteem issues. To this day, in our business, it's all about self-promotion.
Yeah.
And I cannot promote myself. I've been doing this 30 years. I've never had a website. I never put out an album. I did a half-hour special for Comedy Central, but that's because they gave me a half an hour. I didn't seek it. Anything I've ever done, I didn't actually go out and seek. I can't watch myself in anything. I can't listen to myself do stand-up. One thing that I've actually been able to overcome during this pandemic is now when I run set, I write every day since it started. And every day I write, and then I do it into the camera and watch myself do it. And I tweak all my bits, which I never did before. I never would record myself.
Greg, I need to do that. I'm not kidding. So you write the bit and then you say it into a camera?
Well, because all these shows are Zoom shows.
I know.
That I'm watching myself do it, so I want to make sure the mannerisms are correct. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and it helps a lot. Which was something I was never able to do. I was never able to record myself and watch myself. I mean, for when I was doing the Tonight Show, any of that stuff, I had to do that in preparation, and I just hated it. But I've gotten a lot better at it. But it's a self-esteem issue, you know.
I know it is. I have the same thing. It's very hard. I don't know how these comics film they set up cameras. They film every single set, and then they go home and they're like, "Oh, gonna get some popcorn and watch myself." I'm like, "What is wrong with you?" You know how many times I've been on TV and I don't watch it? I don't watch what I did on TV.
Oh, me too. I can't watch it. It's horrible. When I did the Louie C.K. show, people were like, "Hey, you did a really good job." I had to watch it. I'm like, "Oh, I did," and then I watched it. I'm like, "Oh, fuck, awful." I can't look at myself. I just hate it so much.
I know it's very, very hard. It really is. But I'm glad that you're doing that, because I remember when this whole thing started, you were like, I can't even I want to do character stuff. I can't watch myself. And I'm not just saying this. I'm really not, because I don't say it to everybody at all. But you're one of the people who've made me laugh so hard my whole career. Like, I'm not kidding. Every time I watch you, I scream laughing. You're just one of a handful that your writing is so funny to me, and you're so honest and so yourself. Like, I feel like the friend I know, like you, is the same as you are on stage, and it just kills me. Like, I love what you do. So I would love to promote you. Like, I'm like, oh my God, you should promote, but it's torture. I mean, it's very hard for me to do it. It's like, you have to pretend that you really believe in yourself. It's like we're our own company. We're the salesperson, the treasurer, the secretary, everything.
And the product, and that's the difference, because we take it all so personally as the product. We're selling ourselves, and that's never been my thing. I've never been a self-promotion kind of guy. I don't even like if I'm going to be somewhere, I don't even like promoting that. I just rather just show up and do my job. And leave, but I'm trying to get past that. Since this has started, I've got like about an hour and a half of new material that I've written.
Wow, that's insane.
Well, none of it's been run on stage. I do 2 Zoom shows a week, so I'm running it on these Zoom shows, and you can't really gauge anything, to be honest with you, because
no. You're going to be surprised. I do better on Zoom because it's a close-up of my face, and a lot of my act is my facial expressions. Like, even if I pause and make a face, but when I try them in person outside, they're bombing.
It's not translated.
Right.
So that's something. So I know a lot of this material is just not going to fly on stage, but I think a lot of it will. A lot of it
will. I'm sure. I mean,
so when we get back, the first thing I'm going to do is start working, is put an album together and finally just release an album, because I've never done it, And a lot of this stuff I like now too. I've never liked my material. The half-hour Comedy Central special I did back in 2007, I find it unwatchable, and I think I've evolved since then. Like, some of the material was just cheap laughs, and in fact, I had been to my YouTube page in years. The last time it was back in 2013. I asked some friend of mine who was technical prowess to remove everything I just didn't. I didn't even want my own act on my own YouTube page. I just hated it.
Put someone else that you think is
just put all Bill Burr. Just put Bill Burr up there.
Who do you think, like, who are your favorite comics that are doing really well, or that are famous or past anything? Like, who do you love?
You know, I love you. I love David Tell. You know, I've never been a fan of comedy. Like coming up, I was never a fan. I kind of fell into this. When I was a kid, I liked Richard Pryor. But I never had any aspirations of being a stand-up. I was in college. We were watching Evening at the Improv, me and my friends, and we're all like doing bong hits and watching Evening at the Improv, and none of them were funny. And I made a comment. I'm like, if these guys can get on TV, why can't I do this? And they're like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, I think I can do this. So I just that summer I hit a couple of open mic nights and did really well.
Oh my
and then
God.
After 6 months, I won the funniest person on Long Island contest. So I just dropped out of college. And I just started working immediately.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members for supporting the podcast.
All right, hold up. Could you take a little off the P's? You're hitting them too hard. Not action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members for supporting the podcast.
Hold on. Now you're whispering Patreon. Is there a reason you're whispering?
Well, you said to take the
Somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
You ready? Action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon member.
Now you got to pause.
For those of you who don't know, Patreon members, is that okay?
It was perfect. Why'd you stop?
Oh, okay. Patreon members.
Cut. Let's go back to the beginning.
Thank you
And action.
Thank you so much to all my Patreon members for supporting the podcast. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams where we talk more about...
All right, let's take it back to the beginning. That was perfect. Do it exactly like that.
I just did it well, though,
Except
but why are you
finish it this
starting
time.
over? Thank you so much to all of my patron...
Cut. Why are you screaming?
Because I'm just trying to get through this.
Action.
Thank you so much to all of my...
Action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast.
Perfect. Keep going.
There's so many P's.
Keep going. Keep going.
Ad-free episodes.
You could cut this out, right?
For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams where we talk more about being relatively sane.
Hold up. Did we agree on monthly live streams?
Yes, you told me I should do them because it'll get more members.
I don't know how to do a monthly live stream.
Don't you just talk in your phone?
We'll figure it out. Come on, let's get through this. We have to go. We should speed this up.
All right. Thank you so much to all my Patreon members for supporting this podcast. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams. We don't know what that is, but whatever, where we talk about being relatively sane. If you want to join our fantastic community that is so corny, go to patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's Patreon.
I think you said patriot.com.
Go to patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. Patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. Thanks again.
And cut. That's a wrap.
Ugh.
That's so interesting. So you just decided to do an open mic?
Yeah, at Governor's in Levittown. And I had to prepare 6 minutes of material, and it was 6 minutes of bombing, and one joke worked well, and that kind of got me like, all right, maybe I could do this. And so I started hitting all the clubs in Long Island. Back then there was a bunch of them. There was Chuckles in Mineola, the East Side Comedy Club.
I remember Chuckles.
And I after 6 months, when I won the funniest person on Long Island contest, my father had a shitty condo in Plantation, Florida that he's been trying to unload for years. And the maintenance was like $350 a month. That was it. And it was just sitting there. He's like, why don't you come down to Florida and you do stand up down here? That way, he can see me. So I did. I moved down there for 9 months and did stand up. So I was doing road gigs really early. And then I moved back to New York after 9 months. And auditioned for Louis Ferrander at Catch a Rising Star. I was like 22 years old by then, and he loved me. Immediately put me on all of his shows, and then Caroline started using me. The Cellar immediately started using me. So I was 22. I was making a pretty decent living. I was able to get my first apartment on the Upper East Side, and then within like less than 2 years, I had done the Tonight Show, and then after the Tonight Show, I was Dolly Parton. I had a development deal with NBC.
I know, my God, you have such a history.
So I was making really good money, and I upgraded to a nicer apartment. I should have bought back then. That would have been the right move.
Yeah.
So I was very successful, very young, and very drunk, with serious behavioral issues that I had to kind of deal with while I was navigating this industry. And eventually I kind of bottomed out. But I've always been able to maintain, I've always been able to make a living doing this. I've been very, very fortunate, and I've overcome drinking. I was a heavy smoker for years.
Yeah, you were smoked for years.
Yeah, but quit on a dime. I quit on again. That was again another book that had helped me. Was The Only Way to Stop Smoking Permanently by Alan Carr. All I had to do was read a book. I was chewing nicotine gum for 7 years.
I remember that.
Off cigarettes, but I was hooked on the gum.
You and Boss.
Boss is still on the gum, and it's probably been 2 decades.
Yeah, he's been chewing the gum for like since 1928. He's
amazing.
And he's chewing it all the time.
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. I think I damaged my gums from all the gum chewing. It could have been the alcohol too. I don't know.
Well, so what year did you do the Tonight Show for the first time? It was in like 98? What year?
No, 93.
Oh my God, Gregg. You started what year did you start?
I started open mics at the end of '89.
Oh my God.
And I was by 90, halfway through 90, I was working professionally. I flew out to San Francisco, did the San Francisco competition, which was a huge competition back then.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I was able to get all these West Coast gigs. So I was doing road gigs back in the early 90s. I worked from, I won the Inland Empire Comedy Competition, which was like Washington, Idaho, Montana. I won that competition. I was semifinalist in San Francisco, so I got all this work out of San Francisco, all this work in the Northwest. I was doing gigs in El Paso, Texas, and Arizona. I've been pretty much every state in the country, with the exception of like 3. By 1994, I worked almost every state in the country. So I was right out of the gates. I was working.
Yeah, I was too. I mean, I was on the road more locally, but even in the first year when I started, which is rare.
Yeah.
I was flying around the next year all over the place because I was like just doing everything. But so you've been doing it, what, 30, how many years?
30 years, yeah.
That's insane. I mean, like I'm in my 22nd year. And I remember, because you were around for a while, and that's why I say I used to watch you at Gotham and the Carolines, and I used to just cry laughing. I mean, oh God, I remember watching you so many times and laughing so hard. I want to produce your album with Jim.
I would love that.
With my manager, I want to produce, because we produce albums together. I would kill to produce your album. Oh my God.
That would be great. I've always been a huge fan.
Yeah, he just did DC Benny's. He did he did Vic DiPotetto's, and we've done a bunch together, like collaborations. But
that'd be great because I got a set.
Your act is perfect for an album. So you've never done an album before?
No, I was headlining in Cincinnati, and he was recording all my sets. He's like, Greg, I have all your sets. He handed me these CDs. He's like, this is great. He goes, this is your album right here. And I never listened to any of it.
Isn't that incredible? I'm the same way. I'm telling you, I've given up opportunities because it's so painful to listen to it. But it sounds like you're pushing yourself. I mean, we really have to now if we want to get anything done, because these idiots don't do anything anymore. There's like, I don't even know what the industry is, like the television industry.
Yeah, I've really fallen behind as far as like social media is. I'm a terrible social media comedian. I have like, I only joined Twitter in like 2014. Russell Peters put me on Twitter. He's like, you got to be on fucking Twitter. So, for years I had like 1,000 followers, and then when Trump got elected, my Twitter feed just turned into me just ranting about Trump. Since he's been elected, now I have 5,000. I picked up 4,000 followers just from angry rants since Trump was elected. And as soon as he's gone, they're all going to leave me. Because
no, we're not. There's going to be more to talk about. Trust me.
It's funny. These are not comedy people. These aren't comedy fans. These are people who just all so hate Donald Trump. We bond on that.
How do you deal with it? I'm just asking because I struggle with it. Now I had to stop watching the news months ago because I can't watch it anymore. I literally can't function if I watch the news or watch the videos and read all the stuff. I can't. I'm not going to be okay if I do that. But do you feel like it's hard because then you're not informed? But then again,
yes. I don't watch the news either. Since it started, I just stopped. I actually stopped watching the news last March. It's been a year ago March, because I just couldn't take Trump anymore. Just listening, just the sound of his voice was making me sick. The thing about Trump is he makes everybody a worse person. And not just the people around him. I believe I'm a worse person since Trump was elected.
I know.
Because like when I found out Trump had coronavirus, I felt a little good, So I'm definitely a worse person. When he recovered, I felt, So how can I? So clearly, I'm a worse person. It's watching him waving from the back of that limo to me was more disturbing than the Zapruder film. I was just so. I still don't believe he even had coronavirus, and that's not even a conspiracy theory. I'm just playing the numbers. Trump lies at such a high percentage that if he tells you he has coronavirus, the numbers will tell you he doesn't. That's gambling 101. So I had to stop watching the news. Just hearing him talk. The thing about Trump is anybody who's got an IQ over 80 has been a witness to this fucking travesty. You know what I mean? Because he insults our intelligence every day. He's lying. We know he's lying. He knows we know he's lying. And the 30% of America is buying into it. And it's like we're watching America losing at 3-card monte, and it's hard to watch.
I think at a certain point he doesn't know he's lying, and he thinks he's telling the truth. I think at a certain point it shifts, and he thinks his lies are the truth.
Well, he lies so much. I don't think he even knows what the fuck the truth is at this point. And his supporters, a supporter will never, Trump supporter will never know what it's like to have their intelligence insulted, and that's the real crime, I mean, because it's a red baseball cap just housing this empty void that he fills with lies and Kentucky Fried Chicken bones.
How does it affect your comedy or you being a comedian? It's been a lot harder for me because I look in the audience and I think a lot of these people are really dumb and a lot of them are really evil. Like
I've become disenchanted with humanity, and a lot of my stand-up, I was never a political comic, but most of my material has been about Donald Trump the past 4 years. It's just he's been driving my act. I'm trying to write material that's not Trump related.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's not helped stand-up comedy. He's divided the room. I know how many gigs I've done where they're like, don't do anything political.
Yeah, I get that all the time too. I mean, what do you think is going to happen with stand-up? Seriously? What do you see happening?
I think it's important not to. We don't know what's going to happen, and one thing I learned from meditation is your mind tends to go to the worst possible scenario.
That's
in
true.
any scenario. You know what I mean? So there's no point in really focusing on anything other than what you can do to make yourself better every day. And that's what every day I just try to have a little victory. And it's right. Writing is where it's at. Every day I try to come up with something that I think is stage worthy, and I just got to keep doing that and keep focusing on that, and not look ahead, because God knows where this country is fucking going.
No, I like that. I like what you're saying, because it's like focus on the positive and focus on creating art, because that's what we love to do. And instead of letting all of this control us and like just make us like and not be able to get out of bed, it's great that you're being creative and writing.
Yeah, I since this started, I went the self-improvement route. That's the only way you can.
Me too.
Navigate this, and you just it's just little things every day is all you can do, and we don't know where this is going to go. But if I feel like if you keep working on yourself and keep trying to improve just a little bit every day, good things will fall into place, and you can't worry about the bigger picture. We're all going through the same shit. What makes everybody different is how you respond to it. So that's you have to work just on yourself. You can't fix the world. I mean, you can't. I can't fix the industry. I can't change any of this stuff.
Or anyone. You can't fix one person. I mean, you can't control anything but yourself.
So that's what you have to do. And again, I meditate for hours every day. Hours. I'll do it's a 45-minute meditation in the morning. I do 45 minutes to an hour at night. I do meditative walks throughout the day. Just to keep myself balanced. Every day I'm working at just keeping myself balanced.
Just so you know, I'm in the exact same boat. That's what I've had to do. Literally every day I woke up, I read, I prayed, I meditate, I do a lot of different things, because if I don't, I'm not going to be okay. I'm just not. And I have a choice. Either I can do those things and have a good day, or an okay day, or not do them and be miserable and filled with fear. And I can't live like that anymore. It's scary.
No, you can't. You can't. And you got to stop watching the news. There's nothing
I
good.
don't watch the news. I stopped months ago. And I got to tell you, I was getting to the point where I felt hopeless. And I have never felt hopeless in my life. And that is a very scary place to be.
Yeah. A lot of us feel that way. Nobody knows where this is all going. Just keep writing. That's
yeah. No, and you eat well too, don't you? Like, you take care of yourself.
I've been cooking my own meals since March now, and I'm basically eating the same shit. I'm eating like 3 different variations of the same meal every fucking day. I can't. I used to go out to dinner all the time. I don't go to restaurants now. I used to eat a lot of fish, but now I buy fish at the supermarket. It's disgusting. It's
I know. I don't like fish from the supermarket.
Oh, it's horrible. I mean, I'm buying supermarket salmon, and it always makes me feel sick. I'm eating steak 3 times a week. The supermarket steak. I haven't eaten a supermarket steak since I was a child, and now I'm eating supermarket steak 3 times a week.
That sounds so Jewish to me. I don't know why, but I had a supermarket steak. It was delicious. Like, supermarket steak.
I'm buying roasts and cooking a roast.
Are you making roasts?
Yeah. Oh, this is weird. Because I work out, so I have to get a lot of protein. I'm eating on average 18 potatoes a week.
Oh my God.
Every morning I make home fries, and I make eggs and sausage. Like, my breakfast is my best meal. Every day I have eggs, home fries, sausage, and then dinner I'm either like roasting chicken or roasting a London broil with potatoes.
Jewish grandmother. That's what you are now.
Well, when I was a kid, I had to feed myself. So when I was, my mother she used to have like frozen lamb chops in the freezer. So when I was 8 years old, I'd be broiling fucking lamb chops. So that's when I learned, and I only knew how to cook like my grandmother used to cook. She died a long time when I was very young, but I remembered she would make pot roast chicken. So I would mimic what she did as a child. And, by 12, I was making really good stews, and I've kind of carried that with me. So yeah, I can cook. I cook like an old Jewish woman.
I love that. I want to taste your stew. I bet you're a great cook.
I make a good stew.
Gregg, I'm so grateful that you came on here. I want to say, not just are you so brilliantly funny to me, and you're such a good human being. You're a humanitarian, which not everyone is now. And you fight for people's rights and you do the right thing. And not just that, but you're very inspiring. Like even me talking to you today, I feel inspired to take care of myself more. I'm just very inspired because you could have gone two different ways. Like you could have let this whole thing control you and just lost your mind. I don't mean literally, but I mean just been miserable, depressed, have body pains, all kinds of stuff. But you've really taken action with feeling better and being a better person. And that's rare.
Yeah. Also in this business, a lot of guys, they get bitter over the years. And I got to that point, I was just a bitter drunk.
Mm-hmm.
But, you reach a point, you can either go and want to do, and we know a lot of guys who are just miserable. They blame everybody. They blame other comedians for their failures, and I've had run-ins with several comedians over the years over that. It's a waste of energy. You know what I mean? You have to keep yourself in check, and this is a crazy business, that one, and you can't, it's not another comic's fault that I don't have a development deal right now. You know what I mean? And I can't, you can't get, I don't get angry at bookers for not booking me anymore. I don't, it's just the wrong way to go. You know what I mean? You're just going to shrivel up and just become an angry old man. I didn't want to go that route.
No, but it's really true. And you know what? Some of them are doing really well and they're still complaining 24 hours a day.
We know
I know.
A lot of successful guys who are fucking miserable.
Complaining about, you are doing great. You have everything you ever said you wanted and you're still becoming a victim.
Well, you know what it is? You can't escape your own skin. You know what I mean? Whatever drove us to be in this business in the first place is still driving us.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you don't become aware of what's driving you, it's gonna just eat you up.
Absolutely.
And even when you get to a certain level, you're making millions of dollars. If you've never fixed that issue,
mm-hmm.
you're going to be even more miserable. Because where am I going to go from here? I already have a mansion. I have 100 cars, and I'm still miserable.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? You have to eventually. You have to look at yourself and fix that before you can make any real change.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing anybody can do is intentionally make themselves have a good day.
Yes.
And you have to do it every day. Every day is a day. My focus every day is to put myself into a good, balanced state, and then hopefully good things will come from there.
That's it. It works. I know for a fact it's happened to me. When I believed things were going to happen, they happened. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I agree too. If you put out good energy,
mm-hmm.
It'll come back a thousandfold. And it worked for me too. When I quit the drinking and all that shit, I ended up hooking up with Russell Peters, and he took me to the world. You know what I mean?
I know.
That never would have happened if I had stayed on the path that I was on.
Absolutely.
And every time I think, because it's a weird business, every time you think everything's done and you're at the end, if you're persistent, something will come along.
Yep.
You have good years, you have bad years, but if you focus on yourself and the little things, that's all you can do.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so proud of you. I love you very much. I can't wait to produce your album. I'm not kidding. You're one of them. Yeah, that would be amazing. I just think it would be great. I mean, your album would be unreal. You probably could put out 5 of them from stuff you have on tape.
I'm not watching that tape.
What about if I watch it?
I got some good stuff though. I'm working on it, and I would love to work with you.
Awesome. Well, tell people where they can find you. Tell people where they can reach you online and everything.
I'm in my living room.
That's perfect. Yeah, and the address?
Well, I would say I'm a Gregg Rogell on Instagram. I post a lot of pictures. I got great tour pics. And if you hate Trump, follow me on Twitter. If you like Trump, you don't want to go anywhere near my Twitter feed.
Yeah, don't go near him.
It's all Trump all the time. And you can come friend me on Facebook, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not
check it out. You're so unreal. Your stand-up is amazing. We're on shows together all the time at the Comedy Cellar in New York when they open back up. We're probably on almost every night together. So yeah, I can't wait to see you, and I'm so proud of you, and you seem great. I'm really happy.
I love you, Jess.
Love you, honey. I'll talk to you soon.